Carowinds is one of the best amusement parks in the Southeast. This park spans 2 states and features 14 different roller coasters, including the reigning winner of the Golden Ticket Award for the best steel coaster in the world in Fury 325. This park always had a sizable coaster collection, but this park has improved exponentially ever since Cedar Fair took over. Find out why this park should be on every coaster enthusiast's bucket list in this review. Located in both North and South Carolina, Carowinds opened back in 1973, but attendance was stunted by an oil crisis. In 1975, Carowinds was acquired by the Taft Broadcasting and King's Entertainment Group, who owned Kings Island and Kings Dominion. Over the next 1.5 decades, the park continued to grow. Carowinds received attractions that were well received at Taft's other parks, such as a racing wood coaster in Thunder Road. And in 1987, they acquired the Ocean Island Water Park next door and assimilated it into the park. In 1992, King's Entertainment was purchased by Paramount, who renamed the park Paramount's Carowinds for the 1993 season. The new attractions over the next decade were lightly themed to the company's popular films and television shows. In 2006, the park featured 12 different roller coasters, but only one that was really well received in Top Gun, which is known as Afterburn today. 2006 was the same year that Cedar Fair purchased all the Paramount parks. Carowinds dropped Paramount from its name, and Cedar Fair invested heavily in this park. This was for 2 reasons. 1. Charlotte's population was growing. 2. The city offered the park tax incentives to keep building. The park received 2 massive Balzer and Mabillard coasters that forever changed this park's skyline. First was Intimidator in 2010, and second was Fury 325 in 2015. The latter is widely considered one of the best coasters in the world, and it's easily the park's signature attraction. It also creates a really cool entry experience. This park is just a short drive from the Charlotte airport. If you're lucky, you can see the park during takeoff and landing. Then when you approach the park, you can see Fury 325 and the park's other tall attractions from miles away. And as you get closer to the main entrance, Fury 325 becomes even more impressive as the ride's speed hills travel over the pathways into the park. Seeing a coaster this tall and fast whiz overhead really gets you amped for your day. There is also a second entrance in the back of the park known as South Gate. This is typically only open on Saturdays. Like the main entrance, you also interact with a coaster. This one is Afterburn, looping both over and under the midway. This is the best entrance if you plan to go to the Carolina Harbor Water Park. The arrival experience in past years was extremely frustrating because Carowinds had a tendency not to open the parking gates until 15 minutes before opening. This led to cars backing up onto the main road. Thankfully, they opened these gates earlier in 2022. Parking costs $20 per day, but there are 2 ways to avoid this cost. First, you can purchase a season pass. Second, you can stay at one of the nearby hotels, and then they typically let you keep your car there. Spring Hill Suites is located inside the Carowinds parking lot, and this is a 10-minute walk from the main entrance. Comfort Inn is also located on the same side of the street as Carowinds, and it isn't that much further of a walk. There are also some additional hotels on the opposite side of Carowinds Boulevard. These hotels are fine, but you should not walk to the park from there. There is no pedestrian crosswalk across Carowinds Boulevard, and it's basically a highway, so it's extremely dangerous to cross it. I didn't know this the first time I visited this park without a car, so I needed to call an Uber just to cross the street. Day tickets cost $75 at the gate, but you can typically save $15 to $30 if you buy in advance online. I typically visit with a Platinum Pass valid at all the Cedar Fair properties. You should consider this option if you plan to visit multiple Cedar Fair parks in a calendar year. Once inside, you'll notice a lot of other similarities to Cedar Fair parks. You have a giant tower at the end of Celebration Plaza in the Carolina Sky Tower. Then you have a very clean and colorful park. The coasters in this park have such nice paint schemes. Parts of this park are nicely shaded, mainly the left side of the park over in Camp Snoopy and over by Afterburn. However, the right side of the park has some really barren areas, so it can be scorching hot in the summer. Make sure to pack your sunscreen. Carowinds isn't really a theme park. Camp Snoopy is the best looking area with the Peanuts characters, and a few rides have some light theming, particularly the newer ones. but this is mostly an amusement park, and that's fine. This park has a nice atmosphere because of how well it's upkept. Dispatches at Carowinds are slightly above average as a whole. The crew at Fury 325 is one of the best in the Cedar Fair chain. They can efficiently keep 3 trains rolling, so that line never stops moving. You can see some stacking early in the season, but the crews get more efficient as the season progresses on most rides. A few of the older coasters have horrifically slow dispatches at all times though, most notably the Nighthawk Flying Coaster and the Vortex Stand-Up Coaster. But those issues are specific to those models rather than the park itself. Lines are usually manageable on weekdays, which makes it possible to do everything in a day. Fury 325 and Intimidator are people eaters, but the lines for Copperhead Strike, Nighthawk, and Ricochet can back up even on quiet days. The latter is a problem even if you have Fastlane because it's not included on that. If you intend to buy the Fastlane, skip the line pass, head to Ricochet as soon as the park opens. I would recommend Fastlane on weekends. It is pricey at $75 to $110, but it will get you on most rides in a flash. The park rarely sells out of it, so it's usually safe to wait until the day of to purchase it if you determine it's needed. Visiting on a day with inclement weather can be a great way to beat crowds. Carowinds will run almost every coaster except Ricochet in the rain, and they are usually pretty resistant to closing early. There are 3 types of weather to watch out for though. First are thunderstorms. With the humidity down south, these can crop up in summer. Second and third are the cold and wind. These 2 tend to be issues at the very start and end of the Carowinds season. It must be above 40 degrees for most coasters to operate. Intimidator and Fury 325 do not like the wind. Intimidator is the most sensitive to wind, but Fury can close as well. These 2 rides have wind sensors atop the lift hill. Intimidator seems to close when ground winds hit the 20 mph mark, and Fury closes around the 25 to 30 mph mark. If you don't have Fastlane, my recommended touring plan is to arrive at least a half hour early so you're one of the first people on Nighthawk. Because this coaster is at the very front of the park and has awful throughput, you need to be one of the first people in this ride's queue line, or else you're doomed to be in a lengthy queue line later in the day. If you don't hit this at opening, hop in line right before close so you at least don't lose a large chunk of your day when the park is operating. After Nighthawk, I would check if Ricochet still has a short wait. If it does and you want the credit, ride it now. If you've never been to this park, I completely understand if you want to get on Fury 325 next. But I think the smarter decision is to go back to Copperhead Strike. You should be able to get a few rides before that queue line backs up. I would then hit the Mountain Gliders if you're into snapping, because it's another ride with a really low throughput. You can then save the high capacity B&Ms for the second half of the day. Moving on to the ride lineup, Carowinds is a nice coaster lineup anchored by its top 4. You'd be hard pressed to find many parks with a better top 4 coasters. Fury 325 is the clear star. This Balzer Mabillard Giga Coaster is a masterpiece. The ride has blistering speed in the first half as it carves over the entry pathways, giving sudden laterals and airtime along the way. Then the ride also has the strong sustained floater airtime you've come to expect from B&M on the incredible first drop, the super unique treble clef turnaround, and the final few bunny hills. This is one of the most re-rideable coasters in the world between its smoothness and addictive quality, but check out my review if you want to hear more. Intimidator is the park's best coaster purely for airtime. This B&M hypercoaster is a sea of giant camelbacks. This ride is nicknamed Intimidator for its abundance of trim brakes, but the first half delivers strong and sustained floater airtime no matter what. I find this airtime to be better than a lot of other B&M hypers, even when those trims hit. The second half is a letdown though, as the midcourse saps Intimidator of much of its speed, and you meekly limp back to the brake run, which I cover in a review. Copperhead Strike is the park's lone launch coaster, and it's a diverse ride from Mack. Those aforementioned launches are super weak, but the layout is otherwise great. You have incredible hang time on 4 of the ride's 5 inversions, including that super slow JoJo roll out of the station, the circular vertical loops, and the giant cutback halfway through the ride. Then the twisted layout also features some good airtime hills for variety. If you can look past those launches, you'll get a really nice coaster, but look at my review if you want a full play-by-play. Afterburner is one of the best B&M inverts. This one is a mini Montu with the 6 forceful inversions, including a whippy vertical loop, a floaty 0G roll, and a powerful batwing that dives underground. This ride is mostly smooth even after 2 decades of operation, and it's such a well-paced experience. Now there is a severe drop-off in quality after that top 4. Nighthawk is the prototype Vekoma Flying Dutchman. 3/4 of this ride are fun. The valleys deliver intense positive Gs, as does the crazy vertical loop, and the aerial maneuvers also offer fun visuals. But the final 2 corkscrews are abysmal. They are one of the most uncomfortable elements on any coaster, and they will rough you up. I'm glad Vekoma removed these on the later 2 Flying Dutchman coasters, because they ruin an otherwise fine ride. Vortex is one of the earliest B&M stand-ups. I actually enjoy this coaster because I found a way to ride these stand-ups comfortably, as I've detailed in a separate video. The ride is short, but the vertical loop and helix deliver the positives, and the corkscrew is snappy as well. But if you don't find a comfortable riding position, you can definitely get a painful ride with all that headbanging. Carolina Cyclone is an old aero looper. The ride was recently repainted and it has its moments, namely the abrupt pop of ejector airtime in the first drop and the 2 forceful vertical loops, but some of the valleys can rattle you. Flying Cobras is a Vekoma boomerang. This one was updated with vest restraints to eliminate headbanging, but still has some shuffling in the valleys and on the transitions. However, the ride does have a good initial plunge and 3 forceful inversions going in both directions. Hurler is a subpar wooden coaster. The ride isn't as rough as it looks, but the ride crawls through the layout, barely offering any airtime. The layout has potential if the trim brakes didn't hit, as I loved King's Dominion's Hurler before the same brake was installed, but I also wouldn't mind if we get another RMC conversion here. While this isn't going to appeal to thrill seekers, Carowinds does have a deep family coaster lineup. Ricochet is a minimally braked Mach Wild Mouse with some powerful laterals. Carolina Gold Rusher is a secluded aero mine train. The ride isn't too eventful, but the second helix and tunnel have decent speed to them. Some of the transitions can be a bit suspect up front though. Woodstock Express is a cute junior wood coaster. You can find clones of this coaster at the other Cedar Fair parks, but I would have loved having something like this as a kid. Kitty Hawk is a suspended Vekoma family coaster. This one is the old track and train style, so you need to watch out for headbanging on this one. Lastly, you have Wilderness Run. This Mylar kiddie coaster is a nice layout for a ride of its size, but it's usually off limits to adults unless they're accompanying a child. As I mentioned earlier, Camp Snoopy is a relaxing kids area with plenty of attractions for kids to experience both by themselves or with their parents. There isn't too much for kids to do on the opposite side of the park though, but there are a few family rides with low height limits here and there. For flat rides, Carowinds has some nice options. The park doesn't have the strongest spinning ride lineup, but there are a handful of rides worth experiencing in the flat ride department. Drop Tower is the park's best flat ride in my opinion. This 17-story tall Intamin drop tower may not be as tall as others, but it offers some float and stomach drop as you fall like a rock. Windseeker is a 30-story tall swing ride. This ride offers a stunning bird's eye view of the park while spinning atop a tower. Carolina Sky Tower offers the same view at a much more leisurely pace, and photography is allowed up there, which is much appreciated. Electrospin is a rare Mondial top scan. This isn't as fast as the ones in Europe, but still offers great hang time in the slow inversions, followed by quick laterals and whip as you snap back upright. Mountain Gliders is a classic Bishroko flying scooters ride, and this can be one of the wildest rides in the park if you know how to snap. This ride runs a short cycle, but runs fast enough and it's easy enough to get the cables to snap, which causes your tub to jerk wildly through the air. And the operators here not only allow snapping, but they seem to encourage it at times. Another classic flat worth checking out is Southern Star. There aren't too many Intamin looping starships remaining, but this ride offers incredible hang time over the top. Carowinds thankfully has 2 dark rides to escape the heat or poor weather. Boo Blasters is a fun Sally dark ride. You shoot at 2D targets, and most work. The ride is decent length as well, and the laser sights make it easy to determine where you're shooting. The same cannot be said about Plants vs. Zombies. This Triotech 3D shooter is rumored to be on its final legs, so you may not have much longer to try it. This ride is chaotic if fully loaded, and that's not necessarily a good thing. There are just too many people firing at the same screen, so the experience becomes incomprehensible. It's fun if there aren't many people riding it though. Carowinds unfortunately no longer has any water rides, which is extremely disappointing and shocking for a park of this scale in such a hot climate. I wish they'd reinvest in this area in the future. They do have the sizable Carolina Harbor Water Park included with admission though. While I've never spent time here, they appear to have some nice family slides, plus Blackbeard's Revenge, an intense trapdoor speed slide. Beyond the rides, you have two notable seasonal events. Scarowinds is the highly popular Halloween event. I've never visited this event, but it seems to be a great time of year to get night rides on the coasters, and there are some haunts as well. Just watch out for crowds. Winterfest looks like a solid event for locals. There are only a handful of major rides open, most notably Copperhead Strike and Afterburn, but the park is adorned in colorful lights. I've heard this event can get lengthy queue lines due to the limited ride lineup, so I hope the park considers expanding this event in future years. I can't speak too much on the food at Carowinds because I've only gotten a snack at Chicky and Pete's. There, the crab fries are great as always. I have heard good things about Harmony Hall, but I've never had a full meal here. I always stuff my face at the nearby Metro Diner before heading to the park. They have awesome chicken and waffles there, and the portions are massive. So do I recommend Carowinds? Absolutely. This is one of the best parks in the Southeast. The top 4 coasters and especially Fury 325 keep me coming back. It also helps the park have some decent non-coasters, solid operations, and a pleasant atmosphere to complement those top attractions. I think this is in the upper half of the Cedar Fair parks, and it only looks poised to get better based on how much attention Cedar Fair has given this park. So those are my thoughts on Carowinds. What are your thoughts on this amusement park that spans both North and South Carolina? Do you like all this park offers, or do you come mostly for Fury 325? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.